Okay, Algebra 1, Chapter 2. This is the beginning of a new unit. We're looking at inequalities in this unit, and so we're going to be doing equations, but this time we may not necessarily have equal to. We might possibly have greater than or less than. And so first we have to understand how to write specific inequalities. So let's start with the signs. If I'm going from left to right, this is greater than. I know that sometimes when we learn this as younger students, we learn it as something eating the bigger piece. But when we take it to a different level and we actually create equations with it, then that philosophy, we have to actually know how to read the sign. And so the one that points to the left is going to be less than. Also, if you were to look at these in kind of a strange light, the less than sign kind of looks like an L. The greater than sign unfortunately doesn't look like a G, but it's the one that doesn't look like an L. And so again, reading from left to right, something like this would be x is less than 4, and then this one would be x is greater than 4. Now, obviously, if we throw the equal sign on there, we have got greater than or equal to. And that's a or. So using the same expression, we're going to go with x is greater than or equal to 4, which means it could be one or the other. And then we'll finish this off with less than or equal to. And so that would be x is less than or equal to 4. Now we might actually get some verbal representations of this, and by verbal I mean they would actually write it down and then we would translate it. So something to the effect of pardon me, sorry, I got some allergies going on. Maybe a number n is greater than 16. So we would take that representation and we would take our number n and just write it as greater than 16. Now, something that kind of throws students from time to time is maybe if I have something like 16, I'll use the same example, 16 less than a number. Nope, I'm sorry. I'm getting a step ahead of myself. We're not going to do these in this section. Let's rewind. Let's do something. 16 is less than a number n. Okay, so just going left to right. 16 is less than a number n. Now, for reading answer purposes, we always want the variable on the left. Okay, and so if I'm going to flip the variable to the left, I also have to flip the sign. Notice that it's open to the n here, and it's also open to the n here. So I'm just changing the order. I don't actually change the value. But this is the order that answers will be read in. And so just to simplify things, that's what we would like to do. And so now we can look at some actual equations. If I took something like this, x plus 8 is less than negative 3. So just like in the last chapter, I want to get the x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. And so I get x is less than negative 11. Notice it can't be equal to negative 11, but I'm just going to check some things. I want to pick two numbers that are less than negative 11. I'm going to go negative 12 and negative 13. And I'm going to sub those in and see if those work. So I have negative 12 plus 8. Is that going to be less than negative 3? Negative 12 plus 8 is negative 4. And that is less than negative 3. So that checks. That's good. Let's try the negative 13. If I've got negative 13 plus 8, is that going to be less than negative 3? So negative 13 plus 8 is negative 5, which is less than negative 3. So that one works. You don't have to do this every time. I just want to show you that that's how that would work. So you will want to go through sometimes and check to see if the solutions are correct. Now, they may actually give you values to put in there to check to see if they're correct, and that wouldn't be any big deal. We could do that. Okay, so let's take an equation and let's also graph it. This graphing is going to be on a number line, and so let's say I had x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 2. So I subtract 4 from both sides, and my answer is x is greater than or equal to negative 2. So if I'm going to put that on a number line, again, we don't have to be too crazy with our number lines. Here's 0. In these, if I put a negative 2 over here, I would like a positive 2 over here, just as a reference. Now, because it could be greater than or equal to, that means it's going to be a closed circle, and greater than is always to the right. Less than to the left, greater than to the right. So just as reference, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, we're going to use closed circles. Greater than and less than, because it wouldn't be equal to the actual number, we're going to use open circles. And so let's get one of that second variety. Now, as before, we always want the x on the left side, so I'm going to automatically, before I even start, I'm going to change this to x plus 2 is, let's see, that is pointing towards the x and open towards the 14. So I just modify that, subtract the 2, and x is less than 12. So again, I'm going to do my number line. And I got my 0 in the middle. I've got my 12 out here. I've got my negative 12 out here. And so we're going to go, in this case, open circle above 12. And because it's less than, we are going arrow to the left. And you don't have to go too far. You don't have to make your arrows too big. And that's about 9 minutes. That is Chapter 2, Section 1, Writing and Graphing Inequalities.